What's up everybody? Today we'll be doing a comparison of these four and a review of the Beoplay P6 versus the Beosound 1, the Beoplay A1 and the M3. Let's get to it. So I borrowed the Beoplay P6 from Bang Olufsen Ter Horst in Utrecht, and I've had it for about a week or so to have a play around with it and to gather my thoughts on it and to do a little review about it. The long and short of it is, all in all, I like it. There is a bit of, I don't know how to say it, it's sort of slightly odd, and that in the sense that it's almost too powerful for the chassis it's in, because as you can see, I mean, my hand more or less covers the whole thing. I have big hands, but even so, like the little burger, as you call it, is a lot smaller. But this is really powerful, and it almost feels like at points, depending on what you listen to, the chassis isn't big enough for it to breathe properly, especially in the bass department. I'll have a few clips and I'll show you as best I can here in my living room how they sound, how they compare, and yeah, they're all filmed at around 2/3, which is like 65-ish%, all of them. One thing to note though is that these two, the Beosound 1 and the Beoplay M3, are properly loud at that point though. So if they're blown out, I haven't listened to them yet, that's probably why, because they're way louder than these two. So yeah, have a listen.
I'm not one to make promises. I don't wanna hurt you, but I need to breathe. At the end of it all, you're still my best friend. You know I'm not one to make promises. I don't wanna hurt you, but I need to breathe. At the end of it all, you're still my best friend. You know I'm not one to make promises. I don't wanna hurt you, but I need to breathe. At the end of it all, you're still my best friend. You know I'm not one to make promises. I don't wanna hurt you, but I need to breathe. At the end of it all, you're still my best friend. There's something inside that I need to release.
I hope that gave a good representation of what to expect when you buy any of these. Now you come into the sort of dilemma of what to get. This one, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. My cats love this Quadrat for some reason, so it got ripped up a bit. But fortunately, there's metal grills if you have cats. But then the other thing is it's wired permanently. It's wireless every other which way, and you can attach other things like in the bottom here. But it's permanently wired. So if you have a small speaker that you want wireless and stationary, this is probably the one to get because it's quite powerful. Secondly, if you want ultimate portability and great battery life, you probably end up with this. Although, compared to the Beoplay P6, there is a noticeable difference in sound pressure levels. This sounds a lot better, but also it goes a lot louder at the same volume level. However, one thing I sort of found is that if you compare the A1 to the P6, the P6 for an upright speaker has magnificently done the 360 sound B&O always claims to have. First time I really properly think they managed that if you disregard designs like these. However, the speaker does sound different this way versus this way. And I think it's mostly because on this side is where the big driver is for the bass. Versus when you have a design like this, if you put it flat on the table like that, you get the 360 sound as well. So it's a bit of a design quirk, I guess. Also, one thing I feel is that with the Beoplay A1, if you set the tone touch, which is like the treble and bass mix more or less, you can see it in the app. With this one, it's a lot easier to keep it right in the middle and not adjust any of it and just play whatever tunes you like. I feel with the Beoplay P6, it's kind of an odd duckling, because if you keep it in the middle, which is funnily enough called optimal, I don't think it sounds optimal at all. It heavily depends on what you listen to. If it's like rock and or guitar music and or a lot of vocals, no problem. If it's very bass heavy, which I tried to show you, it's kind of because at like 60-ish% volume, roughly thereabouts, it starts sort of deforming the bass. Now that almost totally goes away if you pull the bass somewhat back, and it's not unbassy, if that's even a thing. I mean, there's still a lot of bass, but I almost feel like the tuning is out of sorts, in the sense that if it was naturally tuned to be less bassy, it would be better. Now, it's very capable, but yeah, it's kind of fiddly. So what I kind of would recommend is set it to bright, more or less, thereabouts. Find what you listen to the most and then adjust the tone touch to that and leave it to that. I did that for about 2 days and then kind of sort of got used to the sound that way. And I didn't miss any bass anymore, especially when I kept on going back and forth. When the bass is fully pulled back on the Beoplay P6, it still equals and or surpasses the Beoplay A1. Now, however, if you compare it to a giant like this, I mean, it's heavy. So technically it's portable. It's running off its battery right now. I think this bronze is gorgeous though. And it has the Google Home and everything built in. But this thing, like it kicks all their ass. It's literally, the comparison is almost unfair with this one in it, with the Beosound 1. It's so much more capable. It has a 4-inch driver and it sort of has a full range up top. It's not a dedicated tweeter, but it does everything superbly, especially for the size. However, if you compare it to the M3 is nowhere near as good as this one, and especially you hear it in vocals. The voices sound sort of flat and like the treble is pulled back. It's a bit of a strange sound, especially when you compare them directly. If you have them in different rooms playing, it's not so bad, but if you have them next to each other, you can clearly tell the difference. However, if you look at price, this is, I don't know, about 4 or 5 times the price of this one. So if you think about it, that you can have like 4 or 5 of these versus one of these, the Beoplay M3 is kind of the Kingslayer in that respect. Granted, the materials are nowhere near as nice. The Quadrat is nice. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad product in any way. Or the materials aren't unnice to touch, but I mean, who wouldn't fancy that aluminium work? I mean, I love this, although it is expensive. I mean, even if you compare this aluminium to this, it's kind of, this is a bit almost childish. However, it doesn't mean it's incapable. This, compared to the P6, is in price not that far apart. However, I'd still have an M3 every time, especially if you have a Beoplay A1 already. The Beoplay P6 comes mightily close to a Beolit in terms of sound signature. Only when you crank it, you lose, like I said, the sort of bass, and it distorts kind of heavily. I'm not sure if it's only this one, but you can solve it via tone touch, but then it does alter the sound. I think it kind of should, the way I had it set up, should have been like that from the factory, and you can always add bass. I almost feel like at lower volumes, it's there to sound more impressive than you needed to have it sound. It's for its size though, it's kind of amazing, because in terms of acoustical quality, for how portable it is, because like, look at the difference. This, I would say, is almost twice as good as this one, yet it's not twice the size. I mean, the little burger still kicks butt though, but had this been promoted a bit more, I feel this could have been the new favorite of us all. I really like it, and there's a bunch of different colors. You just go on the B&O website or on one of the shops, and you can pick and choose whatever you like. It's beautifully crafted. There's next to no bezel when you go from material to material, and it sounds quite good, but I feel you kind of need to tweak it. I mean, it's Bluetooth and it's very portable. Although, I don't know, if you, depending on how you live with portable speakers, I guess, this is much easier to sort of put in your backpack. It's also slightly less heavy, but I would care a lot less if this accidentally got destroyed versus this one. Because this is actually kind of a really nice product. This is nice for sort of lackadaisical use. And it sounds good. They both sound good. This definitely has a lot more volume. Which one would I buy if I had none of these? For portability, my kind, I would probably go with the A1. Because when I go portable, I kind of often like throw stuff in the back of the car and just hope for the best, sort of. And that's usually because I leave too late and I'm in a rush. If I don't know, want to have a beach day or something like that, I'd probably still use this, because if you destroy it, it's not an arm and a leg. If you're a bit more careful though, and if you are one of the people that can have an iPhone without a case, go for this one. You won't be disappointed. However, if you want a wireless speaker that's small for in and around your house and that's more or less multi-room, this kind of is the king for now. This works well, don't get me wrong. You can just put it anywhere and have music. The same for this one, really. The price is just really kind of a lot. Like I said, it's 4 or 5 times the price of an M3. And if you hide it a bit, if you don't have to look at it, this one is the king, I would say. However, if you like to look at your speakers, which I do, I think the difference is worth it. And the overall king of these for that reason and for my in and around the house use would be this one, especially the battery. And all the battery specs, by the way, for these three, that is, they more or less do what they say on the box. They last 10 plus hours each in my use cases. I think this one is quoted at 16. I got something like 14 and a half out of it, but there was a lot of on, off, loud, very loud, etc. Same for that one. And I don't crank this one heck of a lot. So yeah, because it's kind of really loud when you go properly loud, way louder than these. This is in a league of its own. Unfair. If you get back to these three, they're all great. None of them is a bad buy. This one, the tuning I feel is off, but other than that, it's great. This one is indestructible but destroyable, if that makes any sense. And this one, you just put somewhere in your bathroom, in your office, and it's fantastic. If they added a Google Home to it, it would be even greater. I don't like that sort of thing, quite honestly, but I feel a lot of people now, especially compared to the Google Home speakers, this would sound better and just do better in general. So yeah, there you have it. My thoughts on the Beoplay P6. I like it, but I wish the tuning was different. Compared to the rest of these, the tuning of these speakers is much better in the sense of it's much closer to staying flat. I'm not sure if that, I didn't actually measure it, but you didn't have to change anything to crank it, so to say. With this one, depending on what you listen to, you had to, at least I feel, you had to really change the sound settings, which is really annoying. However, if you set it to the whatever best setting is that your heaviest bass heavy music can handle, and you sort of get used to it, you'll be used to it in like a day or so, no problem. And then again, it's a good speaker. B&O should really put a bit more of this in on Instagram with how to actually use it. I mean, it's sturdy, and it's supposedly the replacement of the A2, and it's hard to tip. It's nice. The leather is proper quality. This is a sort of a strap on the A1, and it's kind of, but it works. This is properly nice leather, and overall I like it. It's just not perfect. Not as perfect as the other three. And Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Leave me a like and subscribe if you like more of these sorts of things, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.